Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going back to 1983. Ooh, okay. For John Carpenter's Christine.
All right.
It's funny, even after all these years, the idea of a killer car,
It still really freaks me out.
it's a good one.
Have you ever looked at your car and been like,
Are you judging me right now?
yeah, it's amazing how a film like that
About a possessed car from the 80s can still resonate with audiences.
today, and I think
You're right, Carpenter. He's a master
yeah.
of creating that unsettling atmosphere.
And it's the way he uses suspense.
And draws you in slowly that really gets under your skin.
It's not those cheap jump scares.
Like that.
It's that dread that kind of builds and builds.
Right. And speaking of dread,
Let's talk about Ernie Cunningham.
our awkward protagonist.
Yeah, Arnie, he's the quintessential high school outcast, right?
Kicked on, overlooked all of that.
And he stumbles across Christine, this beat-up 58 Plymouth Fury.
And it's like he sees a little bit of himself in her.
Totally.
They're both kind of broken.
In need of a little TLC.
It's interesting, though, because that opening scene in the factory,
With Christine rolling off the assembly line,
there's already this hint of something sinister.
lurking beneath the surface, even in her pristine condition.
Yes.
There's something not quite right.
Right. And that's what makes the premise so unsettling.
You see Christine at her most innocent,
Brand new.
Yeah.
But yet there's that underlying sense of menace.
Almost like a wolf in sheep's clothing, you know what I mean?
Totally.
It's almost like a warning sign right from the beginning.
Yeah, for sure.
And as Arnie starts restoring Christine...
He starts to change, too, right?
Absolutely.
Becomes more confident, more assertive.
But there's also that darkness that creeps in.
Exactly. This transformation is so central to the film.
As Christine gets her shine back.
So does Arnie, but in a totally twisted way.
Yeah.
The car becomes an extension of his insecurities.
His rage and all those pent-up emotions.
It's almost like,
That classic horror trope of a deal with the devil. Huh?
he gets what he wants. Confidence, power, revenge.
But it comes at a terrible cost.
Oh, yeah.
His personality shifts. He isolates himself from his friends.
And there's that growing violence that's really hard to ignore.
And the film does a really great job of subtly highlighting those changes.
So in the beginning, he's almost afraid of his own shadow.
Right.
But then as his bond with Christine deepens, his posture changes.
His voice becomes firmer.
There's a glint in his eyes.
It's almost like he's possessed by something dark and powerful.
It's so fascinating to me.
The way Carpenter uses special effects.
To bring Christine to life.
Those scenes where she repairs herself, dents disappear.
Parts magically reassembling.
It's both mesmerizing and terrifying.
The special effects, for their time, were incredibly well done.
Oh, absolutely.
You really get the sense that this car is alive.
That she has a will of her own.
And those scenes where she's fixing herself,
They aren't just cool visuals.
they're crucial for establishing her as a character.
A force to be reckoned with.
She's like a vengeful spirit.
Taking on this physical form through Christine.
And it's funny because we've seen that, like, car with a soul idea before.
Yeah. Right.
Like Herbie the Love Bug.
But here it's turned on its head.
Instead of being cute and helpful,
Christine is jealous and possessive and downright deadly.
that's a great point. It's that subversion of expectations that makes Christine so effective.
Right.
We expect a car to be a symbol of freedom, of adventure.
But here it represents something much darker,
Yeah.
more sinister, and it plays on those primal fears we have.
About technology turning against us, taking control.
It's not just Arnie who's affected, right?
There's this ripple effect throughout the town.
Yeah.
Everyone who crosses Christine's path ends up paying the price.
Whether it's the bullies who torment Arnie or even innocent bystanders who just happen to be...
In the wrong place at the wrong time.
Exactly, the town itself becomes a character in the story.
A backdrop for this terrifying game of cat and mouse.
You can't help but feel a sense of unease knowing that nowhere is safe.
Totally.
Not even your own home.
Like, remember that scene where Christine chases Buddy Repperton?
And his gang through the streets.
Oh, yeah.
It's pure chaos.
The whole town is caught in the crossfire.
The tension in that scene is palpable.
You can feel the panic, the desperation.
As they try to outrun this relentless force of nature.
Yeah.
And Carpenter uses the setting so brilliantly.
Transforming those quiet suburban streets into a nightmarish playground.
Oh, for sure.
For Christine's revenge.
And don't forget the music.
That synthesizer score.
Yes.
Composed by Carpenter himself.
Adds so much to the atmosphere.
It's like a heartbeat.
Pulsing, throbbing.
And it just gets faster and more intense.
As the danger escalates.
Yeah.
It's become, iconic.
In the horror genre.
Yeah.
It's almost like its own character.
It sets the mood, builds the suspense.
And it stays with you long after the movie is over.
Right.
Speaking of characters.
Let's talk about the actors for a bit.
Yep.
Keith Gordon as Arnie.
He really nailed that
He's
transformation.
a nerdy kid.
To obsessed, almost possessed driver.
He did a fantastic job.
Especially considering he was pretty young at the time.
Right.
He had to portray
a really complex range of emotions.
and he pulled it off convincingly.
Yeah.
You see the fear in his eyes.
As he realizes he's losing himself.
But also that strange sense of power.
Right.
Of liberation as he embraces Christine's dark influence.
And John Stockwell as Dennis.
He plays that all-American good guy.
The loyal best friend.
Who tries to save Arnie from this downward spiral.
Yeah. You know, Dennis really represents everything Arnie wishes he could be.
Confident, athletic, popular.
Totally.
And their friendship is a really important element of the film.
I think so, too.
Dennis isn't just a sidekick.
He's the moral compass of the story.
Right.
He sees the changes in Arnie.
He knows something is terribly wrong.
And he tries desperately to pull him back from the block.
It's a classic tale of friendship tested.
And ultimately betrayed.
Yeah.
And let's not forget Alexandra Paul as Lee.
Oh, yeah, Lee.
Arnie's girlfriend.
Lee's great.
She's not just a damsel in distress waiting to be rescued.
She's smart. She's resourceful.
And she challenges Arnie.
Which is something he desperately needs.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't realize it at the time.
Right. She represents a chance for Arnie to break free from Christine's control.
To connect with someone on a genuine level.
I agree.
But as we see.
Christine doesn't tolerate competition very well.
No, she does not.
And anyone who threatens Arnie's loyalty to her
faces dire consequences.
Speaking of consequences,
that ending
is a real gut punch.
That final showdown between Christine and the bulldozer.
It's like watching two titans clash.
It's exhilarating, terrifying.
And ultimately tragic.
Carpenter's a master at crafting those suspenseful climaxes.
You're on the edge of your seat wondering who's going to come out on top. And even though we know Christine is the supernatural force,
there's a part of us that hopes she can be stopped.
Right.
That Arnie can be saved.
And then that final shot.
With the crushed car.
And that one piece of chrome.
Slowly straightening itself out.
Oh, yeah.
It's chilling.
It leaves you wondering if evil can truly be defeated.
Or if it's just waiting for the right moment to strike again.
That's pure Carpenter, right?
Leaving the audience with that lingering sense of unease.
That question mark hanging in the air.
It's what makes his films so memorable, so effective.
And it's one of the reasons Christine continues to resonate with audiences even today.
You know, it's interesting that you bring up the lasting impact of Christine, because here we are, decades later, still talking about a killer car.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about this story that continues to fascinate us? Is it just the horror element, or is there something deeper at play?
I think it's a combination of factors. You know, on the surface, you have this incredibly entertaining concept, a car with a mind of its own, wreaking havoc. But beneath that, there are these timeless themes that we can all relate to. Obsession, jealousy, the seductive power of material possessions.
It's like Christine taps into our own anxieties about the things we desire. How easily can we become consumed by them? At what point does a passion turn into an unhealthy obsession?
Right. And the film doesn't shy away from exploring the dark side of the American dream. Christine is this classic muscle car, a symbol of freedom and power, but she also represents the potential for destruction that comes with unchecked ambition. Arnie's desire for her, for what she represents, ultimately consumes him.
And destroys everything around him in the process. It's a cautionary tale, for sure, but it's also a testament to Carpenter's skill as a filmmaker. He takes this seemingly outlandish concept and turns it into a thought-provoking commentary on human nature.
Absolutely. Carpenter is a master of atmosphere, suspense, and social commentary. He doesn't just scare you. He makes you think, and that's why films like Christine continue to find new audiences. Generation after generation, they have something to say about the human condition, about our relationship with technology, about the choices we make, and the consequences that follow.
So what do you think is the ultimate takeaway for viewers? What can we learn from Arnie's tragic journey? What should we be paying attention to in our own lives?
I think Christine reminds us to be mindful of our desires, to question the things we value, and to nurture the relationships that truly matter. It's a reminder that true happiness doesn't come from material possessions or fleeting moments of power, but from the connections we forge with others. And sometimes it takes a horror story to remind us of those simple truths.
It's a powerful message, and one that's definitely worth considering. Well, folks, there you have it. A deep dive into Christine. John Carpenter's classic horror film that still manages to rev our engines. After all these years, we've covered the plot, the characters, the special effects, and even the deeper themes lurking beneath the surface. We hope you enjoyed the ride.
And if you did, be sure to let us know, leave a comment, share your thoughts, and tell us what other horror films you'd like us to explore in future deep dives.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all our latest movie reviews and deep dives. Until next time, keep those engines running and watch out for those killer cars.